What's going on, guys? Welcome to Techbuds podcast number 2. Today we have Justin, Jake, Ricky G, and Ricky M. Welcome to the pod.
What's up, guys?
What's up? What's up?
So what we're going to be going over today is just a little bit in-depth detail about Ricky Gutierrez's life that you guys don't know. All you guys see is stocks, money, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis, but we really don't go into depth about Ricky's life, how we all met, why he decided to make the HQ in the first place, and yeah, just kind of a breakdown of all that.
I didn't even know what we were going to talk about. So.
It's just a little bit of everything. That's perfect. We don't want you to know what we're talking about.
That's the
point.
point.
Be raw, natural, caught off guard. So let's start with what made you want to start investing in the stock market. As simple as that.
So what sparked my interest was I read an article of this guy. I think I've shared it before though, but I read an article of this like local teenager, and he made a little bit over $1 million by trading lower cap stocks in the stock market. That's what originally sparked my interest. It was after the Fast and the Furious movies. I was looking up on how to make money as like a teenager or something like that, and that's what sparked my interest of like oh, he trades in the stock market. Cool. So
what made you want to make money? Everyone's got motivation back in the day, a goal back in the day when you're young at least.
I wanted to buy a GTR. I watched the Fast and the Furious movies. My brother was starting to make money because he started a used car dealership. So it was kind of like our bonding thing where I didn't grow up with him because our age gap was so big.
Yeah.
But he would come and visit from San Diego, which is where his dealership was at. I think he was like 22 or 23 at the time. He'd come and then take me out and we'd watch either UFC fights or Fast and the Furious. And yeah, we came back and he was telling me that he was going to buy a Dodge Viper. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then I went home after the Fast and Furious after seeing what a GTR was.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I buy a GTR? I saw how much they were, and I was like, "Damn!"
Yeah, how to make that money that quick at such a young age?
Well, you try to look for like anyone, like a get rich quick thing, and then I got into trading lower cap stocks, and then I quickly transitioned out of that.
When did you realize you were good at trading stocks?
A
lot of people that like you're just a natural person. Yeah, I'm sure a million people out there have tried starting up an account in the stock market. Obviously,
I was
trading.
not good when I first started.
Yeah,
no. So I was when I started to see that I was better. Then I would say the average person was 20, 21. And it wasn't that I was better, it was that I wouldn't give up. And I think one of the biggest reasons behind it was I genuinely enjoyed what I was doing. It wasn't about the money. I didn't necessarily need the money. I was already doing well in different areas. It was just something that I think a big part of life is, you gain fulfillment based off of what it is that you choose to do. And I just know that every time, who wants to wake up, especially in Arizona or California, at 6:30 in the morning? It wasn't something that was always the most encouraging because I love sleeping, right?
Yep.
But it was so challenging. And I love the idea of being challenged to see if I could come around and make a profit. And then it's actually what kind of like sparked our YouTube side of things. I was uploading different videos on YouTube already, but I randomly uploaded a YouTube video about a trade that I took. I made like $113 off of a lower cap stock.
Yeah.
And one thing leading to another is where I began making videos based off of questions I got. And now over 2,000 videos later, I have a little bit over 1 million on YouTube.
Nice. Yeah, and it's cool seeing your success grow because obviously a lot of you guys that don't know, I met Ricky, 4 or 5 years ago. Just randomly, I used to film YouTube videos with my friends. They basically got in contact with Ricky. Ricky had a GTR or M3 at the time. I think he just got rid of the GTR.
Both, yeah.
So they're like, oh, let's get some content with this guy. He happened to live right down the road from me. So we met up with him, started filming some YouTube videos, and now I work for him. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of cool just see the growth overall.
Yeah.
How did you and Ricky meet? I never heard that story.
Rick and I...
Let's see, because there's two sides to the story.
There's-
Let's see who shares the truth.
There is for sure. I didn't know who Ricky was, but I was leaving my office, and I worked in Tempe, and I lived in like North Phoenix at the time. It's like an hour drive.
What were you doing at the time?
I was working at my job. I had a normal, basically 9-to-5 job, and while I was going to college, and it was like I was driving home in my Genesis Coupe at the time. And I am a major fanboy of GTRs. To this day, still my dream car. Never bought one. And I saw this blue GTR on the freeway. And Rick, I think, was headed to see his girlfriend at the time or wherever he was driving. I just remember seeing that damn GTR. I was like, holy shit, that thing is so sick. I remember I wasn't like trying to race you, but I was like keeping up with you hauling
He's
through.
definitely trying to race you.
He was gonna smoke you.
No, Genesis is the slowest car ever. But I remember seeing that GTR, and then I have a friend named Jeffrey, who has a mutual friend, Muhammad, and that's how I saw you for the first time on social media. I don't even know how many followers you had. A few freaking 100,000, I don't know.
A few thousand, yeah.
Not many. And that's when I messaged you first.
First,
like,
all right. So let me share what.
Let's hear the
actually
real
happened.
story.
Yeah. I was driving to go to GCU, and I was swerving through traffic. I just got the GTR. I was 21 years old, I'm pretty sure. I see this red car with this like little blonde boy just following me.
Annoying you?
This whole way, like, I was like, and it's a bright red Hyundai Genesis coupe.
Dope.
I don't think much of it. I go and I get there, and by the time that I look at my phone when I'm out of my car, be like, hey man, did you see me? That was me. I was following you with your GTR. So how he actually came across is I went to ASU Pauley, which is like in Mesa Gilbert. He went to the main campus to my understanding. And I would get posted on this ASU page called Rich Kids of ASU. And that's how he came across me. I even know how it was because I wasn't super popular on social media.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like getting my start there, but I was a big car guy and I was buying and reselling cars. That GTR was one of the cars that I was buying. And he messaged me randomly and saying like, hey, we share a lot of similar interests. Let's meet up or something like that. Never really met up with him originally. And then we met up once at Raising Cane's. He got me a gift. I got him some fidget spinners for him and his brother.
The first time we met was not at Cane's.
Or was it?
At coffee shop. This is
You
don't have
yeah.
a memory like this, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Coffee shop, then Cane's, and then he started assisting me in managing our Facebook group. So he was just a moderator there, and one thing leading to another, we became, I guess, just like closer friends. And then it got to a point where he was like, hey, I bought my neighbor's house right off of one of my first properties that I bought. I bought my neighbor's house. We had 4 extra rooms, and I was like, hey, do you want to move in? And he was like, down. We had our other roommates, and then it was pretty cool. It was like, I never really had a cool college experience or like a cool like fraternity experience or anything like that. But, you know, I own 2 houses. They're right next to one another, 4 rooms on one, 3 rooms in the other. We're all like best of friends. We'd hang out, film together, work together, and it's kind of just how we got started.
Yeah, I heard about those houses.
Yeah.
Great times.
Great time. Good time.
Great times.
But shoot, what was I just gonna say? I forgot.
Jake's pretty new to podcasting.
I am new to podcast.
You're doing great so far.
Yeah,
Really.
of course. But yeah, so now obviously people that don't know, why did you move to Arizona in the first place? You're originally from California, you were
Yep.
saying. People that don't know your story, why did you come out here? What initially sparked your interest of Arizona out of all places? Now it looks like a great place to move. The market's great. It's like a mini California in a sense, but you moved back in what, 2015?
Fall of 2015.
So back then, what made Arizona look attractive for 2015?
I watched an I'm Schmacked video for Halloween, and it was at ASU. It was a thing where
What?
they would share like crazy college parties. And
Gotcha.
you have to understand, like, I've never really had that kind of experience. So I remember seeing like those I'm Schmacked videos. They're all taken down now. I believe they got shut down.
Yep.
But they started this whole thing where there's these 2 guys that would come to a college, and ASU was considered like one of the top party schools, and it was during Halloween, I guess, of the previous year. There's all these very pretty girls and people were partying. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. So I wasn't even accepted to ASU at the time. I was actually working in San Diego. But that was my first experience ever living away from home, and I saw that as an individual, I grew a lot by not being in the same area that I grew up in. And when I went back to visit, to live with my parents for about a month, maybe 2 weeks to a month. And within that time, I didn't tell them that I was actually leaving to Arizona until like 3 or 4 days before. And realistically, I didn't even get accepted to ASU a week prior. But I dropped everything. I quit my job. At the time I was, 20 years old. I was making like 60,
Where were you
65.
working at then? Verizon?
No,
Oh,
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
So I was doing telecommunication sales. I've always been really big on, if you do have a job, to work a job that pays you beyond just the hours. So like if it's commission or
Commission-based or-
incentive based, I think it's a great way to go beyond just the hours that you work. It provided a great stable income for me. I used that stable income to qualify for my first house. I used that stable income to, fuel my side hustles, trading in the market. I used to buy and resell phones, buy and resell cars, buying my first house. And I remember when I was in California, again, I was obsessive about moving to Arizona. I was just talking about this right now to some of our guys that came to visit the HQ where I would call real estate agents. Dude, I was 20 years old. I have no experience buying a house. I would call real estate agents that were presented on Zillow. I wanted to buy the cheapest house out here. I was looking at Santan Valley back then. I can guarantee you $128,000.
How old were you back then?
20.
20 years old.
Yeah.
First house, wanted to be in Arizona. That's what
Just
kind
the
of
cost of living was a lot more
was cheap back
affordable.
then.
yeah, it was very cheap.
But even then, it was still very daunting because when I moved out here, it was like August or September. And then when I moved out here, by the time that it was like October or November, I already got pre-qualified. Or I already got pre-qualified like a month before. And then within a couple of weeks, I think I made a total of 3 offers. On my third one, which is the first house I ever bought, I have a video on it. And it was during Thanksgiving where I filmed a video where I was like, oh, I don't get to go home because there's Black Friday. And if you're in telecommunication sales, Black Friday or the day after Thanksgiving is Black Friday. So it's a huge, commission day for that. So I filmed a video of like, oh, in 2 weeks, I closed on my first property. I think it was December 15th or December 21st that I closed of 2015 that I closed on my first property. I bought it for $176,000, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It was a foreclosed home. And right now it's worth $550,000. And even back then, people thought that the market was going to crash. And I was so scared. You could not tell me that, that it was a guarantee. Like I would have nearly tripled my money. If you really think about it, it's not just tripled my money, it's tripled the value, but tripled my money. I only put like $20,000 down. So whatever it is that is, that's like 10, 20, 30x
that's
of what I actually put into it. It was an amazing home. I took a huge risk, a huge gamble of what it felt like then. But now looking back, again, we talk about this all the time. Every previous recession or every previous, action that you could have taken looks super risky at a moment's notice because you can't really predict the future, right?
Now you go back.
Looking back, you're like, that was the easiest thing I could have done. Back then, I should have bought every property in Arizona, right?
Exactly.
Was that kind of made you your first like big amount of money? Like I always wondered, like I come from a real estate background. So I always tell people, if you have no money, real estate's a great place to start because you can leverage other people's money.
Yep.
You could wholesale, like you could literally have no money and start like making 10, 20, 30 grand in real estate.
Yeah.
But I always felt like trading, you kind of needed to start with some cash.
You do need capital for sure.
How'd you kind of start gaining that capital to start trading?
I've never done a cash out refi. I still have the original loan that I have on that property. So I've never taken any money out of that, no. My big thing was I was huge on saving money. Every car that I ever bought, everything, I've always just had the money available.
What's funny, a lot of people don't know, is your fingerboard story is one of my favorites. Back in the day, a lot of people don't know. Ricky was hustling way back in the day, making fingerboards, correct?
I would always buy and resell things. So I've done everything from making fingerboards and selling them. I would buy and resell phones, and it was a great way to be able to compound money. From trading is by far the quickest. Like today, we have house flips that we have, and although real estate is very lucrative, and I do agree, but there's moments like today where I took a $400,000 position, which obviously is a lot of money, but I made $36,000 in a couple of hours, where we've had a project that we just closed right now that we started in February, the whole remodel process, construction workers, all of that. Yeah, I think we're going to walk away with a little bit over $40,000, but now I have to split that with my business partner. There was overhead. It was about 8 months, and sure, it's great money, but I also made that in a couple of hours. So I think every market has its pros and cons, right? I think long term, if you're just getting started, I think real estate is a great way to definitely, with the way that you were talking about, being able to leverage other people's money to build that initial amount of capital if you don't have any. But that was never my issue where I didn't have any. I was 14 years old and I want to say by 16, I had over $20,000 saved. I remember that, where any shoe that I ever wanted, any skateboard that I ever wanted. I was really big into skateboarding. I would buy new shoes every week. I'd go to like Lake Forest, and they had like this like Etnies or America wholesale place, and I'd go and buy 3-4 pairs. I can buy anything. I made sure that my parents never had to pay for me, but I've always been really, really good at saving money. I was super frugal back then, way more than I would say. And it was instilled by my father.
Yeah, I mean, I still see it even like today. Like you're always thinking like money first, you know,
Yeah.
which impresses me about you, for someone that, you know,
But
a lot of people in your position aren't like that.
But I also have moments where I definitely do. Right, I do splurge from time to time, but yeah, I mean,
Got the F8 outside.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
I've had a
I
couple
think
good
I do,
trips.
but maybe it's because I again, you're always going to be your hardest critic, right? So if I spend, let's say we do bottle service, and I'm like, dang, should I have really spent $400 on a $15 bottle? And I'm like, oh, who cares? It was a fun time, right?
Right. You can't get those times back with your friends. And
Oh no, there's times I would never. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I think being around you and living with you for so long, I think it's like underestimated genuinely how frugal you are, like when it comes down to different things in terms of not frugal in what you do or how you do it. It's like the percentage of your expenditures versus your income.
Yeah.
It's just so, I don't know anyone that not only makes the amount of money, but also spends as little as possible.
I think it's because I mean, we have people that are going to watch this video and be like, what do you mean he's frugal? He has an F8. It's $400,000. I have a twin turbo Lamborghini, right? I have this HQ. I just bought another house, right?
Yeah.
I think because you understand what I'm doing where, I mean, I bought the car because of actually you, right? You sent me the deal. I bought it for $375,000, around $380 out the door. To the average person, that's going to be like he's just blowing through his money, and rightfully so. That's what they've been taught. That's what they know, because at the surface, that's what it looks like. But I mean, for the people that do know, I mean, I bought it only because it was a good deal. I didn't even see it. We shipped it out here. I could make probably on the low end, even $30,000 net profits after reselling it, and I've doubled the miles on it, right? From like, I've almost tripled the miles. I think from 2,000 miles, now I have over 7,000. I actually just saw yesterday. But yeah, I'm definitely not what I was back then. Back then, I would literally watch every dollar. My expenses were under $1,500 overall. I pretty much lived for free because I had 2 roommates that paid for my mortgage. I had the other house where they paid for the mortgage, and then I had a partner where I split the rent with, or the rental income that we got with that. Everything was all about like all I was focused on was maximizing my monthly income so I can report it and therefore leverage that to be able to take out more loans to buy more houses. That was my original focus. And then with YouTube, and then with everything beginning to scale, when all of our business began to take off, I began to focus so much less on the smaller wins and focus so much more on the bigger wins, where like, hey, instead of trying to flip a car that can make me $1,500 profit, and I would have to do that 10 times, maybe I can just buy and resell a McLaren and make $15,000 profit on one flip, right? And I think it's just because I was brought up with a very small way of thinking in that sense, where I didn't think flipping a McLaren was a possible thing. I didn't think flipping a Ferrari was a possible thing. People don't think that way. Like, how do you, like, I get asked this question all the time. I'm like, how do you flip a Ferrari? So how do you think a dealership is in business?
Buy low, sell high.
That's what we talked about yesterday.
There's nothing else to it, but I feel like it's very easy to overcomplicate the simple things. So,
and I think even like, I wouldn't say frugal necessarily, but I even saw you with buying like your new house. Some people in your position would just pick whatever house they wanted. They would just want to be able to move right in.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
And
that's what I was saying too. Like,
and you were very strategic about it. I mean, you were making offers. You were getting on the phone with agents. You looked for a house that had some add value to it. Now, I just see a lot of people in your position. They would just take more of the easy road. Like, they would just go into a dealership and buy the Ferrari from a dealership where that dealership's making the flip money.
Yeah.
They're making that profit. But it seems like to me all your decisions in buying assets, you know, you're always focused on finding a good deal. And if you find a good deal, you could have nice shit. But don't just buy nice shit that's going to, as soon as the day you buy it, you're losing money for that easy convenience.
I think a big part of it is also because I get to surround myself with people that are like you and all of you guys. I mean, you guys are obsessive about real estate, and I hear about it all the time where I have an itch sometimes where I'm like, maybe I do want to buy a $3 or $4 million house. But then I think about it, I'm like, I already feel always like I spend so much time alone in my office at my house. I'm like, I don't like being lonely. I already feel like that sometimes. So like, why would I want to put myself up in a hill and be away from anyone? And especially my lady Rachel is like a people's person.
Yeah.
And I know and I don't like to entertain people necessarily. I like to be entertained. So I know that's not going to be a good mix. And I think there's something, I think maybe eventually once once I'm in that state, and I respect it for those that do. I don't think that if you worked really hard for your money, I think that you should do whatever it is that you want with your money. I'm so immersed with a bunch of people that are trying to be proactive in different ways on how to make money. I would almost find it insulting for me to not take advantage of the same methods that everyone around me is using. So when I hear you guys, I always try to think ahead of like, I could have offered $1.4, $1.5 million for the house that was for sale, but it's like, why fucking not offer $400,000 below ask? Like, what do I have to lose, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it literally, like, every time I hear that story, I get so excited because I'm just like, rates suck, and I agree, and things can get worse, but I think now during the worst time, it's the same time that I bought this building. It's during the most uncertain time that I lowballed the shit out of someone, and I bought this building for what I would think is a killer deal.
Oh, it was.
Where now it's like
30% undervalued.
I've almost not doubled my money now that market's corrected a little bit, but I've made multiple six figures off of equity, I'm sure, off of this building. And it was the same thing with the house where I was just like, maybe I should just buy it. Maybe I should just wait. I was like, why? If you really think about it, people are pretty distressed and the days on market are going up. Now's the time where, as soon as things slightly begin to get better, sellers will begin to understand their position. They'll step on your neck and be like, no, I will get a better offer elsewhere. I don't want to be in that position. I would rather tolerate the time that it will take for the market to recover and step on them when they're down and try to get it for a good deal. So I think it's just kind of almost thinking backwards by not just thinking in the moment, but short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah. And that was the same mindset you had at 16. So it's no accident of like
with
why
less
you're
experience,
here.
yeah.
Right. But you've had that mindset the whole time. When we were talking about yesterday, like the average American, they get a paycheck on Friday for $1,000. They're thinking, oh, I have $1,000 now. How can I just spend it?
Well, that's one of the things I was gonna bring up is like, it's like not too many people know this, but like you buying a $1.2 million house is like so below your means.
It's a nice house.
It isn't. It is. It's not a nice house, but that's the point. That's the point. That's the point. Like most people work and like they'll do whatever, and they try to get a loan and they take a mortgage for as much as they can afford. If they get qualified for 600, their budget's 575 to 595, and I think it's very admirable that no matter how well you've done, you're choosing to live under your means. Is what I'm saying. Like even you buying a $1.2 million house and remodeling and whatever, it's like it's a drop in the bucket. Because we know you can't afford to go buy literally almost every house you genuinely want. We joked about the other day, there's not a house in Arizona listed for sale that you genuinely could not afford to live in. But just because you could afford to live in it doesn't mean you're choosing to live in it. Yeah. Which is what I think what we were talking about yesterday with the car stuff, and then like the approach of saying like just because you can't afford a $800 car payment that because you make $50,000 a year doesn't mean you should go get that loan for that card payment, which I think is very admirable that not too many people really know.
Now let me talk about it. I appreciate, because I know I'm supposed to take it as a compliment, but I also do believe that there's a middle ground of people that are also very strategic in the way that they buy things that are very expensive, where what if I would have bought a $5 million house back in 2018? Imagine what that would be worth now. What if I would have bought a Bugatti when they were all under $1 million, and now they're at 1.6. So I think, I take it as a compliment because I know that's what it's being given as, but I also don't want to discredit the people that are, because not everyone's like that, but people are proactively literally pushing the limit on what they do qualify for to leverage, because they know that it's an emerging market or something like that. And I think there's a balance between that, where like, I would like to find a balance where my next car, maybe I do want to push the limit or the needle a little bit higher, but not so much that I don't know if I'd be buying a Bugatti.
'Cause
Yeah,
there's
let's
risk.
break into that a little bit softer subject. You know, if you obviously have gone through a ton of supercars, what would you want to see next in the collection? I know obviously
There's
you're
not what I-
always about
okay.
good deals. I know you're
No
always
more
about good
Supercars,
deals,
dude.
but I'm saying,
So
what would you
You know,
want
my-
to see in the garage?
my buddy Joey, right?
Yep. Yeah,
So he works for a supercar dealership, and he brought up the idea of buying a Pagani, and he told me a price that like didn't. I was like, first when I heard it, I was like, no way, and then I thought about it. I was like, my cars all together kind of are more than that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I was like, maybe it's not a bad idea. I was like, and I own almost all my cars outright, right? So I pay for them cash. So I was like, maybe I don't just buy this one cash. I put maybe 20,
Finance
40% down, finance it. I would have less money out than I do now.
You can make videos like, what color
And-
Pagani is yours? You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the color of your
Like
Pagani?
a copper Pagani. And get
No.
it done. Yeah, Pagani's a good choice. But,
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think you get out of the supercar scene a little bit because a lot of people, especially younger people, like if you do well a little bit, you can go get those LLP, those lease finance, whatever the case may
That
be,
is more popular now,
and get yourself in one of those dope cars. But you cannot go get yourself in $1 million hypercar or something that's literally unattainable like that. I think that would be really cool to see, not just being your friend because I'd be able to ride around in it all the time, but like someone of your
All the
age,
time, maybe once.
like you don't see anyone going out there and doing that.
You can't like fake a Bugatti.
You can't
Yeah.
fake a like if you were to buy like I think
You could
should
fake
buy
like
P1.
a McLaren or something lower end, possibly a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
But
get
rent
Pagani
it.
with Gutierrez in the headrest like Andrew Tate's got.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
or
Then they know it's not
a
rented.
P1.
Yeah,
A
well,
P1,
like
a
right now, the
918.
reason I was considering it was because there's uncertainty in the car market, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't really care much about rates because interest rates are different with cars than they are with mortgages, right? They're not front loaded. So with that, I was like, if I can find a distressed seller right now, I think I would pull the trigger.
So, if you don't mind us asking, how much is a Pagani? How much were they asking? Just total price?
1.3 is the one that I was looking at.
Okay.
But that was already a shot like far below what they were asking. But that's how it was presented to me. So when I
Is it-
hear 1.3, I automatically don't think I'm paying it.
Yeah, yeah. Is it-
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get it for $1 million. I was like, that. And I looked very quickly, and I was like, that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
But
Is there one that's already built? It's like already done, or you customized
What year is it?
no, yeah, no, it's
It's
done.
done. It's one that's already built.
correct. Yeah, no, and I'm not at the custom.
That's, I mean,
How do you think that insurance is gonna work?
yeah.
You're gonna call your insurance agent and be like, "Can I register this Pagani?" And they're gonna go, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, I don't know what that. I've never even. Yeah, I've never really dealt with that.
Probably pretty
I have like a
similar.
great insurance agent. I mean, I pay very little for.
It shocked
I have-
me. A lot of people don't even probably know that how much you pay for all your cars.
Yeah, I
but-
pay $770.59 every month for 5 vehicles.
For
Damn.
F8,
F8, $500,000 policy on my F8.
yeah,
$300,000 policy on my G wagon.
yeah.
$300,000 policy on my Model
Nice.
X Plaid. I don't have my Evo insured.
No.
No.
That thing's been at the dealership.
That's
It's at the
yeah.
dealership. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
No,
That's why I don't have it insured.
You're not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that thing.
I have my
Oh,
Toyota
no.
Tacoma. That's my primary car.
That thing's
so
your
I have
baby.
it- I have
Thing's
it
your
set
OG
up.
car.
Yeah. I have my Can-Am, and then yeah.
That
that's it.
Mustang.
No, I don't drive it, so why insure it?
Hey,
That's fair enough. Yeah. Exactly.
fair enough.
You got a Mustang?
You want one?
I've owned two.
Twin turbo 5.0.
Long
Mustang.
story.
I'll
Good
sell it
car.
to you way below what I got it for.
Could possibly
Maybe.
make 1,000
I don't know.
horsepower. Don't know yet.
I don't think I could ever buy a good deal from this guy. He knows how to
this,
flip shit.
This one would be one. I'm down on it for sure.
Yeah.
I bought it for, remember, Ismail originally, and it fell through the water with so.
Yeah,
we'll
long
talk about
story.
it later.
Yeah, the
No,
car.
another
the car had
podcast.
some issues. He had to get some stuff done to it. It
So-
didn't go as planned.
Any viewer out there that wants a twin turbo 5.0 Mustang, hit up Ricky and we can get you guys set up. It's a good deal. He's gonna be losing money on it too.
Yeah.
So you can
Feel
maybe
good?
be in a YouTube video potentially saying Ricky's first loss.
Right.
just
I
kidding.
just took my first loss in real estate, and then we closed on Buckeye today, so that was good.
How much did you lose on the real estate deal?
4,200 after 91 days.
Shit, in this market, that's not too
And
bad.
how much was the
Yeah,
selling price of the
that-
house?
330. Oh,
400K.
345,000 was the sell price. This was 2 days ago for the Phoenix house. 345,000 was the sell price, and our break even was like 341. But because of closing costs and commission, our net loss was 4,200 and something.
So
Ooh, you lost a little bit over 1%.
Correct. And I mean, I just
That's a lot of money out for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably when you think about what you can make in daily trading.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, the idea is like, why am I okay with taking a loss on this Mustang? Is it needs someone that requires to give it attention and whatever else it needs. So I'm willing to take that loss. I mean, market's also so oversold that I'll probably just take that money and then put it into like TQs and leave it at that.
So what's the biggest loss you've taken in real estate then?
That I've never
That's
taken
the
a
biggest.
loss.
Okay, and what's the most you made in real estate on one transaction house?
800,000.
800,000. Not bad.
Do you still have a lot of inventory sitting?
6 houses.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hey, dude,
And
people got to hear it, man.
Yeah.
It's tough times. Like investing, sometimes you know.
Okay, so let me I'll update you. So we closed on one today. We closed on one 2 days ago. So we had 8 total. And then I am about to close possibly, actually close. We have one under contract that's already supposed to close. It was supposed to close today, but they might pull out. So
Bridgeport?
no, there's a third one there. No, Bridgeport was one that was our primary residence. That one's not even under contract. It's still for sale. We have one that we just went under contract for our property in Crestline, California. So we got a full price offer above ask price offer in California.
Wow,
No
that's interesting
way.
right now.
So markets have not been hit as hard in places like California, because 2 weeks ago I bought another house in San Diego, California, and I paid $40,000 above ask. I bought it for my brother. And then the Crestline house, we received we accepted a $10,000 offer above ask, and there's 2 of them that offered above ask.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, personally, I haven't seen that in Phoenix in the last.
But Phoenix is a
120
market that
days.
gets hit
Arizona,
hit the
correct.
hardest.
Yeah, for sure.
Same with like Vegas. Like you look at like '08, Phoenix and Vegas were the 2 that got hit the hardest, and they were like the first to get hit.
Yeah.
So I think those other markets might be just
And you
a
have
little
to think
delayed.
it's California is like, it has to be a unicorn of markets. I mean, it's its own fucking economy.
Yeah.
With that being said, it's every property that I've ever made an offer on that was on market has always gone above ask. I made an offer a couple months ago on a property that was outdated in my home city, Yorba Linda, and I was like, I'll buy this. It's a shitty house, but I'd love to Airbnb it and to have a house I can stay at that I can call mine, or my friends
Get
come
some
and
use
stay.
out of it.
Yeah, in my hometown, it'd be dope. And it went $100,000 above ask.
Damn.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, every market, and that's where I think people sometimes they look at the real estate and stock market like the stock market goes up and down. Real estate though, there's so many micro markets. Like
Exactly.
what happens in New Jersey, like where I own properties, is very different than what's happening in Arizona or
Yep.
Florida. You have to really look at real estate
yeah,
market by market.
100%. We were talking earlier today. Like, there's people who you know and that I know that are flippers that who I haven't personally flipped with, but I know people that are like 6 figures upside down.
I've
Dude,
heard.
Phoenix is
properties.
getting
I've heard. I think the more comfortable, I got excited about talking about my loss because I feel like the more that I talk about it, the more that other people will, and we should embrace it. It's like we were so fortunate during such an aggressive bull run. If I'm not mistaken, that like 20 to 22% bull run that we saw shortly after COVID was one of the biggest bull runs in real estate that we've seen in such a short period of time.
was.
And I partook in every month of that. It's like, how can I want all of the great but accept or not tolerate any of the bad? And it's like, that's like, it just doesn't make sense. That's not how the world works. And I think it will filter out the people that never belonged here. I think it will filter out the real estate agents that never belonged. It will filter out the real estate investors that never belonged. Again, there are grace periods where it's easy to make money, but it's moments like this that really filter out or thin the weed or thin the herd.
Yeah,
whatever
yeah. A
you-
bunch of people are gonna get knocked out and probably
rightfully so.
never become investors again because money was too easy in the real estate market for the last 2 years.
And all we ever talked about, even during the very aggressive moments of when the market was, when we were receiving multiple offers above ask, we were still trying to be as selective. And it's, I would want to say, one of the only reasons that although we did take a $4,200 loss on our most recent close, it's because of what we were so selective and so conservative prior to that, that it allowed us that even during this downturn market, always prepare for worst case scenarios. So our job is not always to focus for the upside. Obviously that's great, but also protect that downside risk, because we want to be here to stay. And the only way that you will be here to stay and or to see the next bull run is if you can tolerate the time that it will take for the market to recover. And if you're losing 6 figures on multiple properties, you won't be here very long.
I also say multiple exits too. Like, I don't know if you've considered maybe refinancing, keeping some as rentals. Maybe
You messaged me. Was it? I think it was someone else that messaged me about it, but I'm hearing a lot about it where it's doing a refi. None of the properties that I have in these specific areas of pockets of Phoenix, I don't want to keep. It's just the areas are too risky, too high risk. They're not safe. I'm thinking about my big house that I have for sale that I might refi, pull some cash out, and rent it out, and I might take a little bit of a loss monthly. But I know long term, instead of selling it for maybe 1.2 right now,
that's a dope property.
I can probably sell it for 1.5 later, 1.4, and that's a lot of money, right?
Especially
that's
the area.
$200,000.
Yeah, that area
Area's
long term
growing.
is going up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So can I tolerate the time that it will take for the market to recover? I mean, right? That's always the question to ask yourself.
What's your game plan right now? How many are you trying to buy a month going forward, or are you guys like?
Well, now we're doing
slowing
a
down?
different thing. So I'm very excited to do. I didn't know that it was a thing. So you said it was called a novation.
So it's called innovation. Essentially,
I can't believe you didn't know what that is.
so
You
essentially,
said you've never heard of it before.
100%. We've done, and I've made offers to do this exact plan.
When
on
I brought it
properties
up and
all
I was
across.
filming that reel, you were like, "No, I've never heard of that thing before."
It's because the way you had it structured it is
so let's
different.
say let's say like a seller wants $300K for their house,
Yeah.
and like if you were trying, typically how it goes, like if you're trying to buy it at wholesale for like 250, and they just like can't, maybe they don't have enough equity, they can't sell for that price. So instead you go, okay, I'll novate the deal. So you go under contract with the seller at 300K, and then you can find the end buyer on like the retail market. But you can also, within that, make repairs to the house. So let's say, the seller wanted 300K, and then if you put 40K into it, you could probably sell it for 450.
Okay.
You put the 40K into it, right? You do all the repairs, and then you sell it on the market. And the seller, they get their original agreed price with you, but then you get to sell it on the back end.
Nice.
So sometimes that involves fixing it. Sometimes you could also do innovation and not even fix
It's
it.
almost just a wholesale.
Right. You're pretty much like a convenient realtor. Like it's almost like you're respinning. Like you're just gonna be the realtor for the house, of the house for them, but without being the realtor. You're gonna just put it on the market and make the difference. So if you found a retail buyer at 350, you contracted with the seller at 300, you'd make that difference of 50K. But a lot of the times, people will do innovation if it's like slight, like a little cosmetic rehab.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to spend like 150 grand into someone else's house when you don't even have the title of the house.
Yeah. Sure.
Because they might, who knows, right? They might go crazy and tear apart the house or do something. So
That's true. I mean,
you got to be definitely careful with just like all the paperwork and have everything lined up. But I do think we're in a market right now where novations are creative solutions to find deals, because I'm sure you're seeing it with the real estate market. You're trying to buy way more conservatively.
Yeah.
Sellers, a lot of them, they're like delayed. The buyers are the first ones that see it. They get hit hard. They lose some money. They pull way back on pricing because we don't know in 3 months if the market's what the hell it's gonna do.
Yeah.
So we've pulled way back on prices, but sellers haven't really, they're still like, well, Sally down the street sold for, this much. I want that amount for my house. So that's going to take a little bit for those sellers. And I'm sure when you were buying your house, you even saw it. Like, people are kind of in denial.
It's
So,
true. Yesterday's price is not today's price, and today's price is not tomorrow's price.
so it's a different way to try to get creative to make money in real estate if those wholesale type prices aren't quite there
Yeah.
with your new conservative buy prices and after repair values that you're calculating, which you kind of have to right now. Because
Definitely. I thought it was a win-win. And again, I knew nothing about novations. It was just a way of like, I've been trying to leverage my following and either buying deals through them and or working with them in any way. And I just found this to be like where I was getting a couple people wanting to sell their house, but our numbers just didn't meet on what I wanted to
The
pay
spread
versus.
wasn't there.
But I was like, and they also didn't want to renovate it. I'm like, how about you just renovate it and then,
don't have
Nick
the
can help
cash
you post it.
probably.
Yeah, it was that, or they're just scared because of the market. And I just thought, I was like, I'll take the risk. Instead of buying your house for $400,000 and then putting $40,000 into it, we'll settle at whatever you want for your house. I'll put in the $40,000 and we split the net profits. It just made sense. And I was like, what a perfect time to find a creative solution. That's all I thought of with that, where like, I know I will do 1 or 2 flips like that. And then with that, I hope that I can use as, confidence for someone else that maybe might be in a similar position, right? Where they want to sell their house, but they don't want to put money into it. That's where I become of value and a solution for them, right?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Like I said, if anything, you just got to kind of be smart with the paperwork. I got some
Definitely.
novation contracts
Sweet.
I could send your way.
I like
Have
that.
you had anyone reach out to you yet to
Yeah.
try to do it? Yeah.
We probably, how many would you say, Chip? Probably like 5, 10. Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge you're gonna foresee with it so far? Just
We
matching
have so
the
much going on
numbers,
right now
or-
with, I wanted to just see if people were interested with my
Yeah.
first video. And I filmed another video just recently and we got a couple more messages, but I just wanted to test the waters. Like, would people even entertain it? I have 8 flips right now. So I was like, and we have one of our projects right now in Santan. So once we get those and once we thin the herd of the flips we have down to like 3 or 4, I would love to try it. Again, my thing is I want to bring back some of our capital, feel comfortable, and then choose to take the risk of taking 1 project at a time, then maybe 2. And then at that point, I was like, dude, for a house that I used to be able to buy for $500,000, now I could do 5 or 10 different projects at 50,000 renovations, right?
Yeah.
And the margins, the cash on cash return would be amazing on those, hopefully.
Yeah.
Are you trying to have less than like 5 deals at all times toward the end of this year? Or what do you foresee as
No,
far
I
as
still want to
yourself?
hit our goal. We had Nick had a goal of 30, and we're I think at 27, something like that for the year. I want to be closer to 40. Yeah.
I like that. Still aggressive towards the end of the year.
I think there's good buying opportunities coming up. Like I said, there's always that delay of sellers are in denial, but life happens. People like need to move. All those sellers who are like, I'll never sell my house for less than $500K. 6 months go by.
2 things. One thing that we're not taking into consideration is that right now the unemployment rate is 3.7%. The goal for next year from the Federal Reserve is 4.4%. That means that 1.3 million people will lose their jobs by next year. And if that's the case and the economy is still like this, that means that people will be in need because 1.3 million people have lost their jobs. So it's not that they might not right now, but at that point, now they're going to potentially lose their house. So talking about a distressed seller, conditions are going to be very favorable for people that are looking for distressed sellers in a couple of months.
Yeah, that's kind of what I anticipate too.
Especially-
And a lot of buyers, like we were saying, like those people that thought it was easy and made a bunch of money, but those people that lost a bunch of money on flips. I know guys in Phoenix lost $100,000 on flips, $200,000, $300,000 on one deal.
Yeah.
And we're talking about losing just like $4,000. So a lot of people are going to be exiting the market. And then if there's less buyers too and more distressed sellers, that's where you really buy, those deeply discounted deals.
I see that for sure, especially in this market specifically, because if you've owned a house in the last 5 years in Phoenix, you've built phenomenal equity in it. And if they're in that scenario where they do lose that job and they need that money, or maybe they're not doing as well, inflation, everything's starting to cost more. And instead of living comfortably, they're living closer to paycheck. But you're sitting on $100,000. You might have 5, 6, 7, 10 grand in the bank, and you have a family of 2, but you have $100,000 in equity. Your option is, damn, we may need to sell this house.
And you can't refi really right now. Everyone kind of already refied. So everyone, when they got in those bad money positions, built up equity, they took a HELOC out.
Right.
And they took $50,000 out to go pay for their children's wedding or whatever the hell they were doing, or
whatever.
vacation. But everyone's pretty much already refied. So that equity of pulling that money out is gone. So people are going to have to start selling just at discounts instead of refi.
There is a company that is allowing individuals, have you heard of them, to pull out equity. They will buy them out at their equity at a specific dollar amount. and they have to make no additional monthly payments, but then they get to, when they have to sell their house, they have to agree. I don't know, it's like this new like business model.
I know
Yeah,
even
there's a lot of
lenders are
creative
getting
stuff.
lenders are even getting crazy because, I mean, the loan market has dried up.
Yep.
So lenders are getting desperate.
They're willing to do what it takes to get that
Yeah.
person in there.
And so I think you're going to see a lot more foreclosures come up too, especially all that. What's been saving people from getting foreclosed on has been the massive appreciation.
Yep.
Because they could just sell because the equity's just been going up.
Yeah.
But as soon as that wave stops and it actually starts going down, I think you're going to see more foreclosures, and then that's more distress, more buying opportunities too. And hard money lenders, with the way rates are going, they're going to be exiting too. So guys like you with like actual cash, not like most people that flip houses actually use hard money.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a loan for people that don't know. It's just like a short-term loan based off the asset. But if those dry up, then the real cash players like you are going to be, only a few guys to bid on those houses compared to, how it's been
Thousands
the last few
before.
Years. Yeah.
One thing we were talking about yesterday is when these markets change, like the way we do, what we see is like the high-end real estate, luxury real estate always seems to get hit the hardest first. And being you in your position, there's potentially going to be foreclosures on these big boy houses. Is that something you'd be interested in going after? Like what you did before in that Paradise Valley flip? Go find yourself a house that, was 10, 12, 15 million that someone's foreclosing on simply because it's more of a strategy to foreclose on it than to try to sell it,
If my biggest thing is like if the numbers make sense, like I would buy anything. I would buy, let's say the houses with like 15 million or 20 million and they're foreclosing at like 10. Like I definitely won't put up all the money myself, but I mean, think about it, like we're so fortunate to not just be proactive enough in this market where we're becoming aware of opportunities like this, but on top of that, like we have people that will connect us with other people and or institutions that will make that deal happen. And I think that's the big thing that people need to understand is that if you are someone that is proactive enough to be involved when there's those type of huge plays, even if you bring in nothing but the deal itself, that is so valuable that if it's not me, then it might be the next investor that has cash that can yield you. I mean, that opportunity can yield you 6 figures.
My friend, he just made $450,000 assignment fee. So meaning he never took ownership, didn't take any money to the deal off of dirt, off of just land.
Yeah.
He just found a good deal and brought it to a developer, made $450K.
And that's things that people just don't understand, where they always think it's the guys with money that can only make money. And although it is technically like, that is where they most commonly make the most money, it's those that know how to come across opportunities and also connect people that can make one deal like that and it's life changing, because after that, I mean, you can close one of those once every 2 years and you're set, right?
And just join LPP and just rip day trading.
All into TQs.
TQ, right?
Well, I think the average person viewer that wouldn't really understand, how do you keep, I mean, we obviously know you have a team built around you and stuff, but how do you keep your daily life going with house flips, technically your course, trading, you just had a baby, flipping cars, everything. How do you personally keep all your stuff kind of in check?
Yeah.
Keep it all going. I feel like that's a lot for the average person to deal with. And I mean, we see here quite a bit and throughout the day. And I mean, we don't see the back end of you doing a lot of the stuff, but how do you keep yourself going, motivated?
It's a balance between delegating the work, right? So I have either partners or people I work with that are required to do some of the work, and the things that the standard or the expectation that I've always tried to set is there's either some form of incentive for that individual to want me to be proactive enough so I can fuel more to that, right? Yeah. So if it's something for like the apparel side of things, or when it comes down to LPP, or when it comes down to engagement on social media, the people that I have around me benefit from that type of engagement. So therefore, the way that I have it set is if I'm not holding myself accountable, then I'm letting other people down. Yeah. And for me, that's the last thing that I want to do. So the way that I hold myself accountable is to make sure that my actions are also something that influence other people, both negatively and or positively. So if I see that what I do is helping other people and or helping our team, then I think, it's something that will only motivate me to stay more consistent with it. So But delegating and then also setting standards or expectations that continue to encourage us to want more, not just myself, but for our team as a whole.
Yep. Gotcha.
But
Do you ever see yourself getting into bigger real estate plays? Like I know this was your first commercial deal, right?
yeah,
Do you see yourself getting into bigger multifamilies or bigger commercial deals, developments type stuff?
I would like to learn more about it. I don't know enough to the point where like I would confidently take it on as like a house flip right now.
Yeah.
But I think I would, just like anything, start small and then scale up into it. But yeah, I would love to learn more.
That's the truest statement Ricky said is he'll buy anything if it's a good deal. Like,
Right. Or it's kind of like the car flip, right?
Well, he bought a plane that one time. You gotta tell people about your plane
bought a
story
plane?
because it's very
I
random.
funded a plane. I funded
Funded
two.
a plane, which is yeah. I feel like
course
the
you
average
did.
person doesn't know that. It's just
Of
funny
course.
stuff. But yeah, if the deal's there, right? Then
Yeah, dude, I mean, we live because of my following, because what I'm known for of like having money, right? But I'm also known for like being like a deal hunter. My thing is like, and because of my presence, it's like there's also people that have money, but then maybe are just not connected. I'm so fortunate that like I have people that around me that are doing so many different things. Where like a guy that came in today and he has like this like new business of like selling candy and stuff like that. Like, I think I'm gonna fund it, and I think it's like, I think he's a good guy. He would be a good partner to have.
good idea. Candy tastes
It's
good
it's
too.
a good idea. I like candy. I like that kind of candy, and it's not going to take away from my other projects. It, I think, would be fun. But my biggest thing, the decisions that I always choose to make is I only work with people and/or partner up with people that are more obsessive in those areas than I am. So I would never buy a plane with someone that I do not trust knows what a plane is worth.
Yeah.
I would never invest in any business or any venture that I believe I know more of them than they know of the business itself. And I think that's just always been like a big focus of mine, where it's never that I think that the partners I have are the best. They're just better than I am. And that's all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best way to is benefiting each other. That's how businesses
Complements
grow.
and partnerships, right?
Exactly.
Have you ever thought about funding other businesses or doing like funding with startups or something that you can, because you have the social media side too, it's like you can leverage that in addition to, I know that's just one example, that one business, but say someone else has a business. Is that something you'd be interested, like a shark from Shark Tank,
No.
you know, down the road?
I'm not there with, there's actually another YouTuber that is in the finance space that's doing something similar to that. And I've been asked to be an investor in that.
That's why I'm bringing that up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The businesses and anything that I've ever done, and again, I can't say that obviously it's not the best way of doing it, but the way that I've always done it is when I get to meet the person and I hear them talk about either the business and or the opportunity, I can see it, like to see if it's something where like they're really passionate about. And I think that's always super important, because if I see that the passion is there versus having someone always just pitch new ideas to me that I know nothing about. When I see it firsthand that this guy's super obsessive, I know that when starting any business, the monetary reward is never there when it just gets started. Most often it's never there. So I need that passion to be so strong that it surpasses any doubt during the difficult times. Because if all you're focused on is trying to make money when you're first getting started, you will most often always fail, because the monetary compensation is never there when you're just getting started. I didn't start trading originally in the need of making money. Started because I wanted to, but then I grew a huge passion for it. I didn't start YouTube because I needed to make money. I started it because I enjoyed it. I didn't flip cars because I needed to make money. I enjoyed cars. Everything that I've always partaken in has always just because I've had some form of interest in, and I like the aspect of being challenged in a different area.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people don't see that side of you, like that you like doing it. Because in the grand scheme of things, you don't need to. You don't need to go house flipping and stuff. You could just literally sit down and stock trade all day and not benefit other people at all. So I think that's at least a cool thing for people to see, that you like at least seeing joy out of other people's success as well. So
And I think it's refreshing to hear too that when you do first get something started, like it most likely will not be successful right away. but you have to have that passion for the long haul. And I've since, because I mean, you specifically, but even other people were around, is like they have businesses and they seem to flourish. And it just right off the bat, like personally, I have 2 businesses right now that are not profitable, that are like more long-term things that I want to have those things at. And I think it's like refreshing to be reminded that it's a marathon, not a race. Because
Not a sprint. It's still a race.
You know what I mean?
Still gonna beat you.
We're still trying to make money.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But it is that is something really refreshing to hear. If you had one piece of advice for someone watching between the ages of 16 and 21, and they had $1,000 extra to do, what is one thing that you would do to either invest that 1,000, or what would you do to go make money if you had $1,000 to your name right now?
Well, do I know what I know now?
No. No, obviously you can know what you know now because you're providing this value for someone else that's watching.
I think with $1,000, my biggest focus would be to build more capital right away. So from like $1,000, I feel like flipping things, and I would try to get to like 10,000, and from those 10,000, I can then go back to flipping things with 5,000, and then I would start putting money, especially right now that the market's down, in the stock market, and that would be like a long-term play. And then I would continue to flip and then continue to take that money and put it back into long-term play stocks. Right now, Apple offers 25% ROI if it recovers to previous highs, and that's Apple. It's almost the most bulletproof company. Amazon offers 56%. Tesla offers 34%. TQs offers 343%. So like
Right now's the time.
during the most uncertain times are when most money is made, when markets fully recover. It's not an if the market will recover, it's when the market will recover. So all I would be focused on is, if I have a small amount of money, is how can I flip things to make more money to then start putting into assets that can grow over time. I don't think real estate is necessarily there, because now real estate is kind of like the delayed aspect of the stock market.
Yeah.
I feel like if we were to think where real estate is at right now, it's kind of where the stock market was in the beginning of 2022 when we're seeing that downturn.
Yeah.
So now would be the
Great
strain away
assignment.
from that, start building up capital, because then cash becomes king. When the market begins to recover, now you have your assets, now you have your cash, and then hopefully markets have pulled back enough that interest rates are lower, then you buy your house.
Yep.
Right.
Nice.
Phenomenal. That's like
Okay.
Should we
awesome
wap it up
answer,
with that?
for sure.
Okay.
I think that's going to be it for
Thank you, Ricky,
today's
for-
podcast.
Yeah,
thanks, Rick. It was a good
Yeah,
conversation
we
for
had
sure.
a stop by.
Podcasts.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure you guys like, comment below, and we have hopefully a couple more guests coming on this week.
We have
That you
5
guys can come
scheduled
check
so
out.
far. 5 guests scheduled. So get tuned.
So I thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and shout out to you once again, Ricky.
Of course.
Easy as that.
Wait.
That was pretty